Othello on the bellow on the bellow. Othello on the bellow on the bellow.
Yeah. The Real Shop Talk. Just come and take a listen. Some grown men with unbiased and honest opinions, and with no agendas, so you just gotta check it. Talking love and life from a male perspective. We keep it authentic, real, no filter. Leave a comment, be part of the show. We here to give you 5 gentlemen's views about manhood, no doubt. This the show you've been needing, yeah, it's the Real Shop Talk. Let's go. Hey.
What's up, everyone? It's your boy Tony Massey, and welcome back to the Real Shop Talk. It's Monday night. It's 8 p.m. on the East Coast. It's 7 p.m. where I'm at, and it's probably a different time where you're at either. But it doesn't matter what time it is where you are. It's time for the Real Shop Talk. Now, you will notice really quickly that we're about 2 brothers down, but that's okay. Mr. John Singletary is transitioning to civilian and retired life. So we gave him some time to take care of that. And our boy Tony Watts is going to be joining us shortly. You know, the grind don't stop. He's got to get out there and get it. So holding it down until he gets here is going to be myself. And of course, the incomparable, always full of and always energetic Gunson Man. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people, brother.
Hey, what up, guys? I am Gunson Man. I'm the host of the Gunson Man Show, but of course, every Monday night, I'm one of the 4 guys of the Real Shop Talk. Is it 4 now? We say it's the 4 guys of the Real Shop
Talk now.
That's right.
Yeah, Derek is an honorary member now. He's he's an honorary member. I'm not taking him off the banner. I'm just not going to do it. He's going to have to live with it.
Yeah, man. So looking forward to this. This is, to me,
oh man, tonight's going to be
an amazing topic.
Yeah. So tonight we are talking about preferences, and more specifically, where we want to really explore: do your preferences, does having preferences, or do your preferences hurt other people or denigrate other people? And what I mean by that is, I think we're all entitled to our preferences. We're all entitled to what we prefer, whether it's a mate or a car or whatever. Whatever we invest our time and energy into, it should be based on our preferences. But are those preferences chosen because you are denigrating or disrespecting other people? So specifically, we're going to talk about people tonight and preferences in relationships and dating and things like that, because that kind of aligns with the topic. So I want to start here, Gunter Man. Let's ask this. I want you to kind of give your thoughts on this question. Is it okay to have preferences? Is that okay when it comes to dating? And again, I want to be very specific about what we're talking about. When it comes to dating, is it appropriate to have preferences? What say you?
Absolutely. Absolutely appropriate to have preferences, meaning that everything that you like, everything that you don't like, everything that you find is right or wrong, all comes from a source outside of yourself. And depending how you grew up and the things you experienced and things that you've seen, things that you read, things you've watched on TV, it has shaped you to believe certain things are right for you. But when you venture into relationships with the heart to love another person, you always have to keep this element in mind, that love is nurturing another person into new possibilities. So even though you may have a preference, that preference might not serve the real parts of you that really matter. So when you venture into a situation, yes, I prefer this, I prefer that, but you will find that sometimes your preferences don't exactly serve your core needs. So your likes, your dislikes, your things, your rights and your wrongs all come from a source outside of yourself. So you have to believe that there is way more information out there that you don't even know exist. And even if you knew exists, some of it exists, you're not familiar with it. So even though you have preferences, don't hang on them as if all or nothing. If they don't have these things, I can't do it, because there's more information out there in the world today that exists that you have no idea of. And you're always you should always be lending your heart and mind to hear from another individual, because they might have an element about life, love, living, and connection that you didn't even know about. And it's right for you.
I love that. So before I give my opinion, I wanted to quickly define preferences or preference. And preference, based on the definition I got from the internet, is a greater liking for one alternative over another or others. And so, based on that definition, what I take from that is, if given the option of more than one thing, my preference is going to be based on me liking one thing over all of the other options that I'm presented, right? And so when it comes to dating, I've always felt like I think it's okay to have preferences. Matter of fact, I think what it says about you is you know what you want. But I think one thing that you hit the nail on the head on is my preferences are a direct result of my experiences, how I grew up, who I grew up around, what I've seen, what I've encountered, everything that I've shaped my opinion about a certain group of people is based on my limited view of the world. And in my opinion, people who are trapped in their space and they never venture out, their preferences are going to be very rigid and they're going to reflect only what they've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't think there's anything wrong with that, because at the end of the day, I think it's intellectually dishonest to say that only men are visual creatures. I think we're all visual. I think we all, we choose things based on sight first and foremost. I mean, if I'm going to the grocery store and I'm choosing a piece of fruit, I'm going to choose the one that looks the most appealing to me, right? Even though they're all going to, probably taste the same and have the same nutritional value and all this other stuff, I'm going to pick the one that looks like it's going to be superior to the others. The problem with that comes into, I'm picking a piece of fruit that I've never seen before, or that I don't know what it's supposed to look like. I'll give you an example. When I remember traveling to, I think it was Bali. No, it doesn't matter. I saw a piece of fruit that I had never seen before, right? And so I didn't know what a good piece looked like, because I had never tasted this fruit. I have actually never seen it intact. So for me to choose one or the other, I couldn't make that choice intelligently because I did not know, which one I actually preferred based on experience. So I just had to go with the one that I felt looked the best, or ask somebody, hey, what are these supposed to look like, right? What's a good one look like? But now I'm using that person's preferences to drive my result. And that becomes problematic too, because if I do take that piece of fruit home, I cut it open, I eat it, and I don't have a good experience with it, now I don't like the fruit. But it could have been I just don't like the one that person chose for me, right?
Yes.
And so it's important for me to do my own research. Maybe I buy two pieces. One that looks one way, one looks the other, and then I can make an educated decision. And the next time I choose, say, okay, this is the one that I've had the best experience with. This is the one that I'm going to go with.
Right.
So for me, there's nothing wrong with having a preference. But like you said, if that preference blocks you from opportunities that you could have with someone who may not meet those preferences, then it becomes problematic. And the hard part about that conversation, in my opinion, is it's so easy for us to assign our bad experiences to a group instead of a person. You understand what I'm saying by that? So I date a short woman who is a Taurus, and I have a bad experience. And so then my preference becomes I will never date short women who are Tauruses again because I had a bad experience and I never want to repeat that experience. But her astrological sign and her height had absolutely nothing to do with that experience. And so my desire is to protect myself by not repeating, the same thing over again. But I'm not assigning the actual attributes that really caused us to not have a good experience. I'm trying to figure out what was it about her? What were the characteristics about her that made her unique? And now I'll never open myself up to a person like that again.
You said a good word. And all that you just said, you said one word that really stands out to me: protect. Because a lot of times our preferences are shaped based on what will keep us safe.
Yes.
Or what will give us the greatest chance of achieving our goals. But don't you understand it? Every time you meet someone new, they are filled with information and opportunities to life and love and connection and alignment that you may never have experienced.
Right.
When you talk about fruit, I think about, I don't know the proper names, but they're ugly apples. Have you ever seen those ugly apples?
Yeah.
You look at them, you're like, ugh, but you taste them. What?
Yeah.
Like freaking amazing. My friend had a ugly apple tree on his property, and we would go up in there and pop those, and they would just look like beat up. Like, who would eat? You eat? Oh my goodness! But here it is. It comes back down to having preferences, but don't let them be so rigid.
Right.
But remember, when you hold it rigid, because now you're protecting some element of your life, some element. But if you're rigid, that means that you've been locked in a particular way for so long that you don't see good in other elements.
Right.
You have lost the ability to see that other elements, other ways of being is beautiful. There's some beauty in that. So when you are so rigid, when you are so set, like my way or the highway, he has to have or she has to have. Not that you'll ever deny someone else, but you're actually denying yourself more than anyone else. Access to people and ways of being that are new, that are more suited for you. It's almost like when I speak to these young kids in schools about picking a purpose. Pick a purpose because it'll keep you focused on something that you really want and the ways of going about getting it. You'll avoid certain things. You'll start connecting with certain people, and that's a good way to go. But on your way to reaching your purpose, you discover some new things about that pursuit or something about that element towards that purpose that you like even better. So I can like a particular thing, but on the way to that thing, I discovered that, ooh, I really like this too. Matter of fact, this is more suited to who I feel I am than that thing that I'm pursuing right now. So don't be so rigid, so locked in that it's that way or no way, because understand, like Tony Massey and myself both said, that our information is so limited compared to what's out there. You'll be hurting yourself more than other people. You'll be denying yourself other people. That's like I talk about racism. I said, I feel sorry for the people who are racist. They have lost the opportunity to see a situation or to take on a project or see life and love in a multitude of ways, because you think that your race or your thing of and the way of them doing things is what's best for your life. When those studies go out about multicultural organizations getting together and taking on a project, they found themselves at least 20% more effective in the things that they do when it's multicultural than just a set group of race of people taking on the same exact project. Different customs, different cultures, different ways of being, different thinking, different preferences, all comes into play to make that thing that you're trying to put together a lot more beautiful. Hearing insight and diversity it's the better way to go. We are truly better together.
I love that. And I looked this up because I didn't want to misquote her, but what you were saying reminded me of a quote from Zora Neale Hurston, and I'm going to read it to you because I didn't want to misquote her. Sometimes I feel discriminated against, but it does not make me angry. It merely astonishes me. How can any deny themselves the pleasure of my company? It's beyond me. I love that quote
I just
because
felt that one so
yeah,
much.
but she gets it that your discriminatory behavior is not denying me you, it's you're denying you me, and I'm amazing. And so that leads me to the next question. And I wanted to wait till Tony Watts got here, but this is a perfect lead into it. How do we deal with not being someone's preference or not meeting someone's preference? So, for instance, let's say that you really like someone, or you there's someone that you really you're interested in, but then you are rejected by that person because you don't meet one of their preferences, whether it be a physical preference or they're looking for somebody,
Personality.
your personality or accomplishment or whatever. How do you deal with not meeting someone's preference?
Well, knee jerk, what comes to mind is the idea that I'm not everyone's cup of tea. Like I'm a unique taste, and I know there's ways about me that may be right for you or may not be right for you, but like the way you feel about me has nothing to do with me.
Right.
Like the way you see or not like something or element about me has nothing to do. You don't know me well enough to not like me personally, to directly say that no. You're looking at me, something about me triggers and say, hey, I would like someone that's more like this. So he doesn't match that more like this. Or I would like someone that's a little bit more reserved or less than that. So, well, he doesn't match that type of. You rejecting me has nothing to do with me. It has more to do with what you think is right for you. So you would actually hold fast to that which is right for you over getting to know someone to the point of seeing, oh, this does match me. She speaks to this element of me that I didn't even know mattered to me. And that's where they go wrong. Because I've had opportunities where people would say, like your bubbly attitude, the way you handle things, like almost like things don't really bother you. And that bothers me because I think there's things that you should be angry about. I think, come on, bro. I'm just telling you, like, I'm telling you real stories. Like I think that there should be things that make you like, aren't you angry about some things? And years ago, I really didn't have an answer for this because I was so elated with how my life was going that I felt I found the bright side in everything. But then I also remember in the midst of serving is that people are in need. Like my mindset has always been I have a heart for people. I have a heart for service and a heart for particular people are women in need. Something about women in need, like that injustices, that unfair treatment. So seeing those social injustices for women, something has always grated me, always rubbed me wrong. But back in the days when I was, ripping and running and having a blast about life, I wasn't taking a stand on the things that I felt was wrong in society. But as I got older and I got wiser and I have a desire to serve, now I saw like, no, I can't just stay quiet. I need to do something about it. So going back to the original question, I don't take it personally. You don't know me well enough to tell me that you don't like the person who I am, because who I am is like magnificent. Who I am is someone that genuinely cares for people without like looking for something in return. I've been told that time and time again in my life that I like you just because I like you. I'm not liking you because I'm trying to get something from you other than an opportunity to show my love and to reveal my love and to open a platform and a place and a space where you can do the same, where you can be yourself and not feel judged. So you not liking me is just simply denying you greatness.
I love that. And I also love that you pointed out something that I think is worth talking about. And that's how sometimes the qualities that that we see in people that should be ideal, they end up being a turnoff because they become not intimidating, but we are unable to find that same quality in ourselves, or we don't feel like we can. And so it becomes a constant reminder, this quality that you have that, again, should be celebrated. Because you have it, it makes me feel like it just highlights the fact that I don't. So, for instance, you being this very bubbly person and very, positive, super positive, I'm sure for some people who would love to have that quality but don't, would find it, difficult to be around someone who is able to see the bright side, especially if I can't find it. I would love to be able to say, you know what? This is no big deal. I'm sure that there's a blessing that's going to come out of this. I'm just going to rock with it. And the fact that you are and I can't, and now I have to share a life with you, I want you to come down to my level and get in the mud and get angry and react and just have a visceral response to what's happening to me. But instead, you're, finding the bright side. Well, I'm not ready for that yet. I want to be angry. So I can totally understand that.
Yes. But it's funny because what you made me just think of is sometimes our preferences are based on our traumas.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that. Yeah.
Massey, come on. This is
I think a lot of our preferences are based. I think that if you write, and this is what I used to encourage people to do, especially in my book, I would have them write down their preferences. And these are things that are good to have. These are things where, if all things are perfect, my preference is for you to have all of these qualities, whether they be physical or social or whatever. It doesn't matter. They're negotiable, but they're ideal. And then you have your standards. Your standards are those things that if you don't have this, we're not even going to have a conversation. This is the minimum requirements. You got to have this in order for us for me to even consider dating you, right? And then I would encourage them, now go through that preference list. Is there anything on that list that can be associated with a traumatic experience you had in the past? If so, you really need to take some time to evaluate the level of importance that has in your life. For instance, if you can only date someone who, I don't know, I can't think of anything specific, but can you draw a line between that preference or standard to some traumatic experience that again, we go back to the word protect, you're trying to protect yourself from? And if so, how will that stand up if you were able to do the work and really address that trauma and get beyond it? Are you denying people the opportunity to love you and be loved by you because you have this reminder of a traumatic experience that you're trying to avoid? And that's just not healthy. So for me, I'll be honest, I used to get I'm 5'9". And I used to get really upset, especially with internet dating when I was dating on the internet, the apps and stuff like that. It used to bother me to no end. I won't even lie, when women would put height requirements on their profile. So if you're not 6 feet, don't even talk to me. And I felt like that was really shallow. And I didn't choose to be this height. If somebody would have consulted me and said, "Hey, how tall do you want to be?" I wouldn't have chose 5'9". I would have chose a higher type. And then I had the opportunity to date someone who made it very clear, I don't typically date men who are shorter than me because it makes me uncomfortable. And my reply to her was, I don't care. You can wear your 6-inch heels or whatever, because the way I'm built, I'm good. I don't feel uncomfortable. But what I noticed is, although we had a really good connection and we really liked each other, that she was very uncomfortable, especially when she put heels on and we had to go somewhere, or we had to stand next to each other to take photos. It wasn't so much that we looked strange. She just felt like she was towering over me. And so it just made her very uncomfortable to be in that situation. And that's when I dropped that attitude towards that preference, because again, you said it best. This has nothing to do with me. You're not suggesting that I'm not man enough, or I'm not tall enough, or I'm not, whatever. This is about you and your ability to be comfortable in that situation. And that's okay. You're entitled to feel comfortable.
Right.
And if you like somebody and you enjoy somebody, but you can't take a picture with them without feeling like you have to slump over, or that you're towering over them, or whatever, I get it. I totally get that.
Love Tucker says there are many reasons for height standards.
You put her up there. No, there are. And I think it's fair. I think it's fair to say this makes me uncomfortable. And if you want me to be comfortable with you, I got to be comfortable around you. And I don't feel comfortable around you because of our height difference. But again, that doesn't mean that you're not a great guy. It doesn't mean that you probably couldn't love me and be a great match for me. But you're never going to get me to just relax around you. You're never going to get me to relax and feel comfortable in social situations. I'm always going to feel some kind of way. And it isn't fair of me to force someone to get beyond what is uncomfortable for them.
Yeah.
And so once that happened, then I was able to get past it and go, you know what? I don't meet your height requirements, so it's cool. The other thing was, there's a difference, and here's where I want to transition into this part. There's a difference between having a preference because it makes you more comfortable, or that's what you like, and denigrating someone. Hold on, let me hold that thought, because Mr. Watts is in the building.
Yeah, man. What up, T Watts?
T Watts, what's up, sir?
What up, crew? You guys are doing an amazing job holding it down. I've been listening. Great stuff. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah, so So there's a difference between feeling like this is what I prefer for these reasons, whatever the reasons may be. I feel more protected by someone who's tall. I feel more comfortable by someone who's taller than me, whatever. But then when you start saying short men are fill in the blank, or shorter men have these qualities, these qualities that are beyond height, then that's when it becomes problematic for me. Because now you're basing a physical characteristic and applying, a personality trait to it, or you know what I'm saying, or some type of, and I can understand why people would get upset about that, because you're literally judging a book by its cover, and that to me is unfair. So keep it about you. Don't make it about me. That would be my thing. Because it doesn't feel good for someone to dismiss you over something, one, that you have no control over, and two, where they're assigning something to you that really doesn't always fit. Most of the time it doesn't,
Oh, I say, well, for myself, I guess I'm built different. My mindset has been your loss. It has always been your loss. Like, understand that you will wrap yourself up in a particular preference. And I'm not talking about anything from height or whatever. You will wrap yourself up so tight in a particular preference that you have removed the God's ability to bless you from your life in that category. You have tied that particular element that you don't even know if it will truly serve your core needs. Now, you could have a preference, that's fine. But when you say, I will not move from this, and then when you will experience people and hold them back from getting close to you because of this, you have denied the ability to be blessed beyond measure from any type of encounter with another human being. Because I know people who will wait and hold on to a preference so tight that they're still single because of that preference. That you will choose being absolutely alone over not getting that particular preference. I will wait. I will wait for that preference to. But when you stop and you think back, and if you're in the moment, if at the time you're single, have any of your preferences really served you? The guy being taller. If you're single now, after all your experiences, has your preference actually met your need? Because you're still single now. Have your preferences actually served you for the best? Because you will hold on to something. Go ahead, talk to me.
I agree with you, but is it fair? Because what you're talking about, and maybe I'm playing devil's advocate here, but what you're talking about to some may sound like settling because my ideal person may not necessarily be in the ideal package. And if that's the case, is that person really ideal? Or do I have to give up something to get something else? And I think that's the argument that I feel like some people would have, was like, well, this is what I want. Am I not entitled to what I want?
Yeah, but like that's once again, it's okay to have your preference. You know, live or die by your sword. Live or die by your sword. But the question is, if you're in a place and space where you're single and you're desiring love, is what I'm saying, desiring a connection, and yet you will choose not to venture into what's out there based on your preference not being met. Like, I'm not going to go and do or meet or do because that preference is so important to me, but yet you're still single. You say you're looking for love, but you have rules and regulations to that particular thing. That's just a preference. I mean, some type of source outside of yourself and your past experience has led you to believe that particular thing is right for you. See, all the stuff that we believe is right, all the things we believe is wrong, all the things that we prefer, everything comes from a source outside of ourselves. So how? But if you're willing to live that way, live that way. But there is so much more to a connection or an alignment with someone, finding out someone's in an alignment with you, than just a particular preference. So I say venture and enjoy, see what's out there, meet people, and you may just discover that a certain element that you would prefer being there isn't necessary. But if you're completely closed off to it, you're robbing yourself in some way, shape, or form from the opportunity of being able to meet something that actually might just blow your mind.
I just hate to be that non-preferential person, because I feel like I'm carrying the weight. Go ahead, Tony. I feel like, okay, now I got to represent for all the brothers under 6 feet.
Yeah. So real quick, what I'm gonna split the baby down the middle. Rick's right, Tony's right. The problem that I think that occurs with people who get their preference but remain single, they haven't stopped to look at the preference and themselves to go, what was, so like, let's say I dated 3 girls that were my perfect preference, right? But it didn't work out. Now I have to evaluate, she had everything I wanted. What was missing? What happened over here? Then I have to evaluate me. Am I being selfish about my preferences? Did I avoid red flags about my preferences? Because I'm getting the package that I want, but it's not working out, that we're breaking up. So now it's time to stop, reevaluate what the preference list is, see if there's something on the preference list of all 3 people that I dated that kind of coincide that broke it up. If not, then it's me. What did I do? How did I change the dynamic of the relationship, right? For the preference, what was the thing that I did all 3 times that broke up the relationship? I think we need to reevaluate what that is, because you're right. You deserve what you want. right? But if you continue to get what you want, if you continue to run into the people who look like what you want, who act like what you want, who have the degrees that you want, who has the body type that you want, the mind that you want, and you're still single, there's something wrong. Somewhere there's a disconnect. It's either them, your preference, or it's you. So now it's time to stop, reevaluate the preference, to see if there's something in the preference that I'm missing, or that I'm pushing away, or is it me? Or is this thing so superficial in me that I avoid all the red flags?
So let me piggyback on that with a question for both of you. Do you feel like, and even for the audience as well, put in the comments, do you feel like we grade people who meet our preference on a different scale than people who don't? Meaning, do we, when it comes to someone who meets our preferences, as we're evaluating them for a relationship, because they met our preferences, do we grade them on a curve? Do we give them 10 points, as opposed to someone where we're dating outside of our preferences, we're giving someone a shot that we normally wouldn't? Do we grade those people harder
Absolutely.
than someone who has our preferences?
Dude, how many times have people said to I'm gonna use a dark skinned chick, you're pretty for a dark skinned girl. I normally don't date dark skinned girls. So you're coming into the situation with a negative aspect. I normally don't date guys under 5'10". I normally don't date girls that wear weaves. Now, what you're doing is you're already coming into the relationship with a negative aspect of what you normally don't do. So now you can't give that person the free reign to be themselves, because you're too busy holding up what your normal standard is, instead of just pulling down the curtain and standing there going, okay, let me see what this person is really about. Let me get rid of all that stuff and see what the person's about.
Go ahead, gun man. Are you chopping at the bit?
Oh man. All right. First, it starts off with saying people will say opposites attract, but that's not really the best situation for a relationship. The worst. The more things you have in common is the more opportunity for, more chances for the thing will work. So yes, you could have your preferences, but I'll be damned if you choose me as that opposite and I have to work from the negative to become a positive. No, that's too much work. You're saying that there's something about me that you're willing just to try. I don't match your preferences. Now I'm in your relationship working from the negative, then to get to the even, and then to probably surpass that. Oh, hell no. No.
I agree with that 100%. Please don't tell me.
But on the same note, I have dated people that wasn't my preference.
Yeah.
Because more important than the feeling of connection is the feeling of alignment. And you got to understand that that connection means that, certain things are familiar. Oh, what's the coincidence? And this and that. And then gives you that wonderful feeling of connection. But when it comes down to now the core, I think you in past talked about like the core 5 things that people hold fast is really important in their life. And they're not going to waver on those 5 things. But when it comes down to the 5 things, the feeling of connection still needs to be able to run through those 5 things that you're just not going to let go of. So you could have a longing and wanting and a feeling of connection with someone, but when it gets close enough, and I always talk about that, it either happens, you come to this realization at the 3-week mark, the 3-month mark, or the 6-month mark. 3 weeks, 3 months, 6 months. It always revealed itself. Can it actually work? Because enough conversation have taken place, enough red flags have triggered off, and has given you the opportunity to either have the conversation or to keep moving forward, hoping that things will change. It's never the second one. When you meet someone, you got to accept them to be who they are at that way. I mean, we're forever in a state of change. So I understand change is a constant. It's always happening. But some people are not willing to let go of the things that's comfortable and familiar to them to venture into something new. You know, like I said, people will say we're fear of the unknown, so I don't want to try that out because I don't know what that's like. Or they say, that things will never change, and I don't want to venture because that'll always be no. Those things are not the things that hinder us. The things that hinder us is the things we are unwilling to let go, the thing that we're familiar with, the thing that we're comfortable with. If we are suffering because of what we're unwilling to let go, but understanding this, there is no growth unless you let go. There's no growth. There's no new discoveries unless you let go. You know, like life doesn't start in the comfort zone. Life begins where? Outside the comfort zone. That's how it is. But I always tell like my nieces and nephews who will spend time talking to Uncle Ricky. Hey, Uncle Ricky. And they want to talk about boys and girls. And I would say, understand this. Fight to be yourself, no matter how uncomfortable it becomes, because understand this one thing, and it's a two-part to this one thing. That which is meant for you can never be denied you, can never, ever be denied you, that which is meant for you. But also know this, that which isn't meant for you will never be given to you. So be yourself.
Yep.
Just be yourself. Because if it's for you, it won't be denied you. You being you is the best thing for that situation.
Absolutely.
But Lord, why would you not want to be you? Especially in a place of relationship and dating. Now you got to stick to that way of not being you throughout the whole entire relationship. And you don't end up holding it against, you don't hold it against yourself. You end up holding it against them. But you're the one who did it to you.
Right.
You won't let me be myself.
Don't you know by now? Haven't you spent time with me enough?
Yeah.
Right.
No.
So, but I would like to do this. Right? If you have a preference, currently you have a preference and you've had it all your life. If you closed your eyes and imagine how your preference should treat you, the qualities your preference should have, what would you fall in love with that you can't see? Do they have those things, right? If you build it from the inside out, would you still have the same preferences? Right?
Yeah, you stole my thunder, Tony Watts. I was going to ask that question. When we discuss preferences, do we always talk about what the other person has, the qualities, the characteristics, but do we ever talk about how we want to be treated as a preference? I prefer to be treated this way by the person that I'm dating, which I think is a much more important question, because if I'm getting my needs and wants met, and I'll put up Love Tucker's comment. I love hearing something about guys who don't like women with short hair. And I've never really been big on hair. I don't, that's to me, to Tony Massey, that's a very silly thing, especially since Black women are known for switching it up anyway. To me, just embrace that, you get to date like 7 different women depending on what's your hair down. But if my preference is to date a woman with long hair, but I could get my needs met by a woman with short hair, isn't that more important?
That's more important. Absolutely.
Shouldn't I embrace that more than being with someone who has a physical preference that I choose, but doesn't treat me the way I want to be treated?
So let's take it a step further. What we're talking about. Imagine we were blind. Imagine you were blindfolded for a year, and you were put on an island to just to meet people, to date them, and you had just to have conversations with them. You have to get to know them, and then you take your blindfold off. I think 9 times out of 10, your preference won't be standing in front of you.
No.
Because you're dating over what's on the inside. We have become, and especially with social media, we become so sight-driven about what we're looking for and what we got to have. And, she's got to have this. She's got to be these dimensions. If we go for the KS level, she's got to be a 7 with, wear size 2. And, all of these dynamical things that you got to have. But when you boil it down to what you really want, right? I think we would open our eyes and see something totally different in front of us. And I think that if we start walking into dating from that aspect, let me find out who this person is on the inside. But to do that, what do we have to do on both sides? We got to take our mask off. The representative can't come to the party. The representative can't come to the party.
But is it fair to ask someone to negate or downplay the importance of physical attraction in order to get the inside? Is it fair to say look past the outside and just squash that feeling that you have that I have to be physically attracted to my mate, and just look beyond that and be satisfied with all of those inner qualities that they have?
Fair?
Yeah, fair is
fair. I'm not gonna say fair. I can't say what fair is.
When I say fair, I mean
is it
appropriate?
No, I get it. I get what you're saying. I understand 100% what you're saying. Is it fair? No, it's not fair, because when you wake up with the girl who is, excuse me, please ladies don't attack me, that is 245 pounds, but you fell in love the way she treated you, the way she embraced you. You fell in love with that. Now you see she's that, you're no longer, you can't find love there. So when you walk away from that, right, and everything you get for the rest of your life, you deserve. Because you found love. You found real, true love. But now you don't want it because it's not in this package that over time is going to change anyway. That package, especially if the package is unhealthy, just to say, how about the package wanted to work out and you help the package work out? Now the package comes closer to what. There's so many dynamics that the package is not the prize. The inside is the prize. And we're denying ourselves the prize because we're too busy looking at the packaging. That's what I'm saying.
But I would say that it's an unfair question. That question or that presentation should only be given to those who are searching for answers. Like, I could say that to someone who's searching an answer. Why don't you look on the inside, because you're wondering why you're not getting what's on the outside and the inside together. I might say that to that, but I think a person should hold on to their preferences. Like I said, hold on to your preferences, especially if you think that they serve you. Or people also have that same mindset, hey, the deep desires of my heart will be met, the deep desires of my heart. So if he's going to be tall, if he's going to be this, if he's going to be rich, it'll be met. But
God ain't going to send me no short man.
Right, here you go. So the thing is that when you have your preferences, like, you got to remind yourself, like, how important is it? And if it's something that you deem for yourself as super important, then don't remove it. Leave it there. Leave it there and just journey on life, because if your believing is there, that need to be met. But you got to keep in mind, if you say you're believing for a particular thing, you got to find your tribe. You got to find those elements and places and spaces that would afford you the opportunity to get what you want, Because there are guys, as you talked about, Tony Watts, 200, 300, 500 pound women that men are absolutely crazy, insane in love with. And the same thing for the women for them. So it has nothing to do with the size of the woman that should have turned them off. It's like, it just doesn't match what you prefer, no matter what you are. Because I know a lot of really ugly, beautiful women. I got hands on. I saw some really ugly, beautiful women, like so fine, like, give me that. And then she opens her mouth and you're like, oh.
And it changes everything.
Right.
Like it will change how I see you. Your personality, if it's ugly, and when I say ugly, I mean you're rude. And I'm not talking about rude as in you have a reason to be rude. I just mean you're just an unhappy person. And you have decided that everyone who comes within 50 feet of you is going to share in your unhappiness. I don't care how fine you are. I'm not doing that. I'm not subjecting myself to that emotional torture. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. But you also have that rudeness, Tony Massey, that includes how you see other people. When you meet a woman or a person that sees other people as less than.
Absolutely.
That's that element.
I think that's what I mean, where, I used to use this litmus test, and it actually proved itself very valuable to me. And I can't remember who said it, but just looking at how people treat people they don't think can do anything for them.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And to me, when I started applying that litmus test in dating, it was a revelation because there are a lot of people that I encountered who would when it came to me, just the sweetest, just wonderful. But then when it came to people that they didn't think could do anything for them, it was it wasn't just apathy towards them, it was rudeness. It was just like,
Right. Absolutely.
one of the qualities that I love about my wife is how she treats everyone. Like, she is just to the point where I feel uncomfortable sometimes. She just gives love to everyone, man. Like, do you know that dude? Like, but it's not even just men, it's women too. She's
Right.
just this very inclusive person, and she sees the value in every single person she encounters. And it served her so well because what ends up happening is, on more than one occasion, someone that she was nice to knew someone who could open a door for her.
That's right.
That's
But that
good
wasn't
right
even the
there.
motivation behind doing it. She just did it out of the sheer joy of seeing someone else. Like, one thing she does is, if you wear a name tag, she will call you by your name. And I just think that's such a great quality because it says, I see you as a person, not just the person that is, providing me the service that, I'm paying for, or whatever the case may be. And I think there's a lot of value in hearing your name, And so I love that you said that. I like to ask a question. Can preferences can preferences by themselves create unrealistic expectations?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Explain.
Especially because I'm glad you asked that question. 'Cause I was gonna say to Rick about people who hold on to their preferences so hard, as far as from a visual aspect, right? If that person is shallow, right, and visually you kind of avoid those red flags of what's going on, and you just want to have that chemistry and the sex is amazing, that's going to fade, and then you're on to the next preference that doesn't actually serve you because you're too busy looking at the outside thing and not really absorbing what's on the inside. So that's what I mean, Rick, when you say that the person should just hold on no matter what, because I've seen people say later on in life, oh wow, I remember Tony Massey, he tried to date me, and I let him go, and now I see that he's so happy. He was a great man. Like, my preference made me skip somebody that was dope. Like, how do you live with yourself knowing, wow, if I'd have gave that particular person a chance, he'd have backed me in everything I wanted, he'd have did everything that I needed, but because I have these preferences, I don't want the gray in the beard, I want him, all these other things.
But
You miss out. So that's all I'm saying to people is, really check your preferences, especially if you can get them so easily. Like, people that can get their preferences so easily, and then, and I'm talking from experience. Back in the day, Rick could tell you, hey, you got to look like this and blah, 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 walk up to you. But it never lasted because I was too busy looking at the shop. And when I got down to the core of what it was, we couldn't sit down and have a real conversation about anything deep I was thinking about because we're too busy having this firestorm and not really getting to know each other. We're on this plastic level. So if you can get past that, all I'm saying is just try to get past that. I'm not saying you should not have your preferences. I'm saying you need to reevaluate what they are if you find yourself continuously single or continuously brokenhearted because of your preferences. Because I would like to ask, especially this now generation, how many of your preferences is really working out? Because social media has your preference all day. If you go into your search engine, you see your preference. On Instagram, you go into search, your preference is all right there.
Yep.
How is that serving you?
There's another element of preferences that's unfair, meaning that if you have a preference in a mate and you can't offer that same preference to that mate. Example, say you're a guy with a daughter, with a child, right? You have a child, and then you put out as your preference, I want my woman not to have any kids. That's the kind of wait. So you saying that you want her to accept you with a child, but you are unwilling to accept her with a child.
Yeah, that's that red pill, blue pill team thing, and I don't.
See what I'm saying? Like these preferences, some of these preferences are really off.
It really makes no sense.
How can you demand something that you yourself are asking someone else to accept?
I didn't catch the beginning of the show, but did you guys go over the body count preference?
No.
What's the body count preference? What's that?
A woman has to have a certain amount of body counts before she can be wifey material. It's so asinine. I
have never asked.
I've never heard of this. What is this?
I've never asked that question. I've never asked a woman that question.
And you shouldn't. It's none of your business.
It never occurred to me to ask that question, because what I'm asking her to do, in my opinion, is I want you to justify your past to me. A past that I was not a part of.
Right.
A past that I didn't even know you during, and I want you to meet a standard that I don't hold myself to, and that I don't have any empirical evidence that creates the outcome that I'm looking for. So if you slept with more than 3 people, then you are a fill in the blank. But I don't have any proof that that's true. The number is so subjective. And my uncle used to say, don't ever ask a woman how many men she sleep with. Just be happy that she's sleeping with you and only you now.
Amen.
So when I think about how preferences can be create unrealistic expectations, it isn't the preference, in my opinion. It's the combination of your preferences in one person. The idea that one person is going to have all of these qualities, and and you're not going to have to compromise on anything. So she must be this height, she must be this weight, she must have this color hair, she must have this, she must have that. And the more you add to that list, if you can imagine, there's 100 women in a room, and every time you call out some type of preference, all the women without a college degree leave. All the women with now when you watch these women leave, you're gonna watch women who meet your physical preferences walk out that door. You're gonna watch women who don't have any kids, if that's your preference, walk out that door. So every qualifier that you have for someone is going to disqualify them in some other area. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So I think that's why it's so important to really evaluate what is the standard, and then how many of the preferences do you have after you've met my standard. And here's the thing, it's subjective. There are some people who have standards that sound a lot like preferences, in my opinion, like hair. I've never cared about hair, but for some men, that's a thing. I don't know why, but for them, she's got to have long hair and whatever, or natural hair, which is a whole nother show, because I would love to just do a class on defining what natural hair means, because I think a lot of guys just don't understand it. But if that's your standard, though, you're entitled to it. Now, the question is, how does that standard serve you beyond what you see? And like Tony Watts said, the woman that you date and marry at 30 is not going to be the woman that you're still married to at 40, 50, 60. I met this guy who had been married for 35 years. And I was so impressed, and I asked him, what's the secret? And he told me, I fell in love with a new woman every 7 years. He said, every 7 years, you become someone else. So he said, I've been married 5 times to the same person, but 5 different women.
Absolutely.
Because it takes 7 years for life to not just affect you, but for you to adopt those effects into your personality, into how you live, whatever. And so when the new woman, which would pop up at year 7, he just started dating her again. Year 14, started dating her again. And he just decided, I'm just going to roll with these changes. So to when couples say, I want to get back to where we were, you're not. You're not those people anymore.
Right.
You don't look the same. You don't think the same.
Yep.
You don't communicate the same. You don't feel about things the same. The things that I thought was important during my first marriage, I don't even care about now. It's not even a thing. It's laughable.
So,
You know
Tony,
what I mean?
it's
It's
I'm glad you
remembering
said about
that-
your friend with the 35 years, because
And I don't know where he got 7 years from. I don't know that that's scientific. That's just him.
because the one thing that I hold fast to is the saying that I heard when the grandkid asked his grandfather, "How did you and grandma stay together for 60 years?" She said she changed 8 times. I just loved every person she became those 8 times. I didn't try to change her back. I just tried to love who she became new. And
Yeah.
you can't get that from preferences.
No, you can't.
Preferences that are out the window, right? Because you have to be able to grow and expand and then change with the next person that's coming, right? I had a conversation with a really, really good friend of mine today, and she said that you guys should talk about menopause. I was like, well, we don't do women topics, but how do you handle when you get to a certain age when people begin to change, when they start going through these life changes, like menopause starts 4 to 5, 7 years before it actually starts. So these
Right.
mood swings, these changes happen, and you think that she's mad at you when she's going through something different. And I just told her, I said, listen, if you're not having those conversations to zero in what's going on and kind of have some data behind what's going on, you're going to lose your mind.
Yeah.
You're going to lose your mind because you can't guess your way through that. There's no guessing your way through that. Oh yeah, she's just mad at me, and no, you gotta figure out that she is going through something bigger than the both of us. And now I gotta figure out how to love her through it so we can go through this together. And that again has had nothing to do with your preferences. When you saw Shorty in the club and she was banging from head to bottom, like you did not think that this woman would change into this new thing. So when you have your preferences, again, they have to be changeable. They have to morph out, because who you meet today, 7 years from now, we're gonna go with the Tony Massey's friends data. 7 years from now, that's gonna be a whole different person with a whole new experiences.
Especially if you're going through andropause as she's entering into menopause. So not only dealing with your change,
Let's talk about it.
you're dealing with how your changes affect your life, but those changes also affect how you're able to accept her changes.
That's right.
And so, and again, virility was probably never a preference at the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Rick, what's up, babe?
Yeah, just so you guys know, just because I'm a nerd like this, the number 7 is typically the amount of years it takes for all your cells to regenerate a whole new body.
Right.
So
Love
you're saying, like,
that in the comments as
from
well.
cell regeneration, it takes
Yeah.
about anywhere from 7 to possibly 10 years, but 7 years on average. That's where the number 7. You're dealing with a whole new human being every 7 years.
Right.
That's where it
I've
comes
always
from.
said, my wife and I had this conversation. This is off topic, but there's a lot of science steeped in our traditions and rituals and things that, a lot of the things that our grandparents and great grandparents told us to do, they did not understand the science of it, but there's a lot of science in it when you start thinking about, like, even remedies. You find out these vegetables and roots that they have you eating and stuff. They actually have analgesic properties, and they have medicinal properties. They didn't know it, which is what they were taught. But a lot of our science is not really far from actual science, and it's pretty fascinating.
Right.
So now let's get into this topic. What about a lot of times we talked about how preferences are a lot of times they're a result of trauma. They could be just a result of nurturing, the environment that you grew up in. And you start saying, this is what I want and maybe you're not always aware that that desire is driven by past experiences or just what you see. But what if your preferences are a result of you trying to get a different outcome than you've had in the past? And I want to get right into it.
Wow.
The men who say, I don't date, I prefer dating this type of woman, not because of all the qualities that these type of women have, but because I'm trying to avoid the negative qualities these women have. So we've heard it said on more than one occasion, the um, the caricature and stereotype of
Just go
the
ahead and
angry
say
black.
it. Just go ahead and say it, bro. I
Well,
don't date
I'll
black
stop
girls.
TikTok.
Go ahead and
The,
say
the
it,
angry
bro.
black woman, black women are not feminine. They don't want to cook for you. They don't go to the
Right.
gym. And so we have men who have decided I prefer white women, or I prefer women of different ethnicities, not because they are my preference, but because I'm looking for the antithesis of the stereotypes of black women. Let's talk about that.
Well, that's a great topic. That's a great segue to it too as well. That we have to talk about trauma. Like it's a traumatic experience to deal with somebody that you can't control, who does not automatically fall into your role model of what you want them to be, right? And not understanding that this person has gone through the same amount of trauma you have, right? With the people she's dated before you. So therefore, she feels independently that she needs to do certain things. Like I love the new meme on TikTok. Relax, sit down, don't do anything. Who's going to do it, right? So if you've been in that state all your life, right? You don't just automatically drop your guard for a man because he says, I'm the man, submit to me. He has to show you that, okay, I see every time she comes home, she washes the dishes. I get home before her. Now you wash the dishes. That day you wash the dishes, she's not going to realize it. 3 months down the road, when she comes home and the dishes have been washed consistently, she understands in her mind, I no longer have to worry about that. So when you start taking those things off of her plate, this angry person that you're dealing with, now you've taken all of the bad things that she's angry about away from her. So now she's no longer angry. And that's what black women talk about sometimes, going, and it's a hard statement, you don't know how to handle me, because they don't know how to handle themselves, actually, because they've been put in the corner, and this is what I had to survive to do. So you coming along, Mr. Handsome, doesn't really change what I have to do, because I've seen your type already. Until you take this off my plate, what am I supposed to, I'm just supposed to, because you're handsome and you've taken me out on a couple of dates and you spent some money and we've had a great time, I'm supposed to just forget all the things that I've been through? It's a harder tour than that. And people have to understand, if you're going to, I always say this on the show, if you're out here playing the field, go play the field, but be honest about playing the field. If you want to meet somebody, to love them and get to know them, you're going to have to do some work. You're going to have to peek into them and go, whoa, I see there's a problem there. If she goes, hey, babe, my ex-boyfriend used to do that and I don't like it. You can't go, well, I'm not your ex-boyfriend. You can't just automatically do that. You're going to have to adjust to her and show her why you doing it may be better. And if she doesn't adjust to do that, you might have to take the L. Especially like Tony Massey said, if it's something that's really not that important to you, you got to take the L, bro. Because once you get her to understand she's in a safe space, sky's the limit. But guys are unwilling. The guys in this blue pill, red pill generation, they're unwilling to do that type of work. They want you to come already manicured, ready to go, straight to the kitchen, take your shoes off and go be a housewife and be docile and be ready for me to come. No, that's not how this works at all. At all.
It's not. And proof of that is, because you made a great point. She has to learn to trust that you're going to take care of the things that she's accustomed to taking care of. But there's another element to that. She also has to learn to to be comfortable with it being done.
Right.
Right. And because it's scary to finally be able to breathe, because then a whole new fear comes up. How long will I be able to breathe? Right. So I finally got to a place of comfort. I finally got to a place where the world is not on my shoulders. But now I got to get comfortable in this relaxed state and not fear that it's going to now be taken away from me prematurely. So when I got back from Iraq the first time, it took me almost a year to be comfortable with my surroundings, even though I'm stateside. I'm in San Diego, California. There are no bombs. There are no insurgents. There's none of that. The environment is there. Everything is the opposite of what I experienced while in country. But it took me almost a year to be comfortable with it, because that's how long it took me to, one, adjust to being in a safe space, despite the fact that for the last 9 months I was in constant fear of combat. And then it took me time to be comfortable with being comfortable with that, because there's that fear that I'm going to, breathe, close my eyes, and then I get caught off guard, because that's the worst part. It isn't what you do to me. It's what I allowed you to do, because I trusted you. I got comfortable. I put my guard down. And my guard has been protecting me. My guard has been keeping me safe. And so I'm not mad at you. You're not the problem anymore. Now I'm mad at me. And that is a lot harder to get past. So I agree. This idea that a woman's femininity or agree, all that stuff should not be conditional. Yes, it should. And we need to stop pretending like the men that came before us weren't horrible. Some of them were horrible people.
Fam.
As long as we just overlook that part and say, well, I'm not him and I don't want to be punished for what someone else did.
Right.
No, you're absolutely right. You should not be punished for what someone else did, but you should be empathetic of the state that person left. So if I move into an apartment and that apartment was trashed, should I be held accountable for the state of the apartment? No. But I do have to understand that even after the cleanup, there may be damage that I just cannot see. I may be discovering damage, as I live there. And although I'm not accountable, it's not my fault. If I'm here, it is my problem.
That's right. It's my responsibility now.
My responsibility.
And I'm glad
or I can fix it.
I'm glad you brought up that responsibility, how a woman should act and how a woman should be. Because when I did the manhood show, the state of Black manhood, I asked everybody, what is the definition of manhood? And everybody gave their characteristics and blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, now each of you go to Oxford, go to each dictionary and find out what the definition was. The definition was somebody that was mature from a boy, somebody that had a penis, somebody that had sexual powers. This is the definition that's the definitions of a man in the dictionary. So who's defining the definition of a man? So when you tell a woman she has to act a certain way, by whose standards? Who gave you the rules? Who did you define it from? And that's the problem that we come into these relationships. We come into
and here's the thing. It's so simple to say these are the things that I prefer. My wife has been trying so hard to meet the definition of femininity, and it irritates me sometimes because I don't subscribe to that definition. The things that she's trying to do to be a good wife are not things that I value.
Talk about it, Tony. Cooking. I love to cook.
Cleaning. I have a whole cooking show. You think I give a damn about you cooking? No. Now, do I enjoy your cooking? Man, my wife makes shrimp scampi that would just blow your mind. And her rum cake, I'm telling you, manna from heaven has to be an ingredient. But coming home to a hot cooked meal may be the preference of some men, but it does not define femininity to me because it's not my preference.
Right.
I don't need it.
Right.
What I need from you are the things that I prefer. And so what we should be doing as men is stop labeling things that we like as feminine qualities
Right. Exactly.
and label them as preferences.
Right.
And I think that most women, and please, ladies, in the comments, let me know if I'm missing the mark here. If a man, instead of a man saying, I want you to be more ladylike, if he said, I would like for you to do the things that I like,
Right.
I think most women, especially if he's creating the environment where that can happen, would be more susceptible to it, because you're not attacking my womanhood. You're just saying, I'm not doing the things that you like. But if you're not creating that space for me to do it, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. You know, you need to fix things around the house. I need to go buy tools. No, you can't spend your money on tools. What do you want me to do?
What do you want me to do?
Be a real man. It's not that I'm not a real man. I ain't got no tools.
Well,
you know, it's unpacking this preference thing and reminding ourselves that we could all laugh at a lot of this stuff. You know, we really can. We can, because everyone, all of us on the screen right here has our preferences for whatever reason they are. They are something that we've been through and believe that they are the thing that's right for us. But I think all three of us on the screen also know that it's how a person makes you feel.
Yes.
That will supersede any of the preferences that you may have.
Okay.
I mean, when you get to an age where you understand the human element, the connection element, the feel good, how you show up for me is more important than how you look to me. Did you catch that? How you support me, encourage me, and build me, and to remind me of my greatness will surpass all that I may prefer in a physical. Like, physical thing is important to me. Yes. That's just how I like it. I like a pretty face. I love this. I can say all that stuff, but in truth, it's how you make me feel. It's how you treat me. You know, do I sound like a woman when I'm saying that? Maybe to some people, but the truth is, I want to be treated right.
That's right.
You're right, damn it. I want to be treated right.
It's your right.
You know, like I don't want to feel like I'm working from the negative. I don't like relationships like that, where I feel like I'm working from a negative. Like, whatever you've been through has gotten you to the place where you have put me in this position. I'm simply trying to love you. And I'm not asking about your past, because Lord knows I don't want you to ask me about my past. I ain't trying to ask you about your past. Look at this. All that you've been through has gotten my attention to like who I'm seeing right now. How you got to this ain't none of my business. Right. But you are at this place where I find you interesting, attractive, good. So how you got here, why am I concerning myself with that? I wasn't there. I wasn't around. It got nothing to do with that. And nor is my job to correct you on that. You should have different standards. That ain't my job either. All I'm going to do is I'm going to be myself around you. I promise you that I will honestly try and fight to always be myself around you. I will not deny you I would not deny you the truth of situations, whether it makes me comfortable or not, because I know in the long run that the truth of who I am is going to meet the need of my relationship. Not the truth of who you are, the truth of who I am. I need to be the real me, because when it comes down the road, I can't hold on to this false me. I can't hold on to that representative. I can't cower and be less than who I really am, or act like I'm more than who I really am, because it goes both ways. And then try to hold on to that and keep going and keep performing from that position. Because the moment I present myself to be something that I'm really not, I have removed myself from the relationship. Absolutely. I have removed myself from the relationship. I have now denied the other person the opportunity to show up for the real me, to be there for the real me. I've denied them that opportunity, and I've denied myself even more. So I have to speak the truth. I have to tell you what's on my mind. I have to. I have to.
Yeah.
Because if I remove myself, now I just got a job of constantly trying to find ways to satisfy you. But what about me? What about me? What about my needs to feel loved and cared for and pampered and done things for? And like what about me? I don't mind that's who I am. I love love. So I'm willing to go those extra yards to make sure that I'm paying attention to you close enough that when I present something to you, it's according to what I think you believe is right for you, not what I simply think is right for me. Because that's what love does. Love pays close enough attention so I know how to share my thoughts, my likes, my dislikes, my passions, my concerns, and my preferences in a way that I believe you can receive it. And hopefully, if I share it well enough, you will be willing to do something with it. That's what love does. Love is something that you do. And if you do it right with enough care or paying attention to the other person, understanding that the other person is not me, that other person is not me. So no matter how many times I show up, how many times I support, no matter how many times I slam it right, no matter how many times I'm doing this or that, or show, and no matter how much I do that stuff, if you think that after doing all that stuff that she will now become a version of you're mistaken. That other person will never be you. They will never always feel and think and feel and respond and deal with situations exactly the way that you do. No, that person is not you. So there has to be a level of understanding that if I'm going to share my feelings, I'm going to share my feelings from a place and space that I may be wrong in my sharing. I may be wrong. So I'm not going to come with all that attitude and anger enough because I may be wrong. Does that mean that you're always going to get it right and you're not being angry and upset about certain things? No, I'm not saying that. But you got to also have the bravery to step up and say, you know what, babe, I was mistaken. I take that back. Can I start over again? And let me tell you what I was really thinking, what I was really feeling. That to me defines that dictionary version of a man or a human being.
Yep. Human being, absolutely. And Rick, I like to piggyback off of that though.
Go for it.
And ask this question. When you ask somebody what their preferences are, right? Their preferences is to have a relationship. Love is never on that list. Love is almost never on that list.
It's sad because for whatever reason, we think that's the automatic outcome of every encounter, but it isn't. It is a very rare outcome, as a matter of fact.
Right.
It's true love.
Right.
And I think we have to teach people the difference between love and lust. And I think that we have to stop demonizing and vilifying lust. There's nothing wrong with that. Not every encounter is going to end in love. And sometimes lust is what keeps, something going until love appears.
Right.
I think we're entitled to experiencing all of the emotions. But when we start saying that only these things are appropriate or whatever the case may be, and again, I love what Rick said, if I was to paraphrase it, I'd say, stop asking people about their past. Why would you scrutinize and criticize a journey that brought you to me?
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. Why would I be critical of whatever happened that brought you here?
Mm-hmm.
Right. We are all the result. Our present is a result of our past.
Past decisions. Right.
That's it. We got here together in this space because of my past and your past. Why would I now scrutinize a journey that brought you here to me?
Yep.
So I think when, my preference is to be with someone who loves me and who is able to receive love from me. My preference is to be me and all of my parts. One of the things my wife says she loves about me is that she feels like she can be authentically her. And that's a quality that I take a lot of pride in offering her. I don't know how much of a role I actually have in that, but if she feels that I allow that or I facilitate that, then good on me, because it's my preference that she never feels like she has to, walk on eggshells, or worse, like Rick was saying, become someone else to be more palatable for me. Because I don't want to fall in love with that person that you've created, because I know you can't sustain that. And when you wake up one morning tired of being who I want you to be, demanding to be who you are, that's when it becomes an issue, because I don't I didn't fall in love with you.
That's right.
I fell in love with who you told me you were. So to
Right.
me, the most important thing we can do for our partners is be who you said you were going to be. Nothing more, nothing less.
Right.
Just be who you said you were going to be. Let me fall in love with the real you, with all of your flaws, with all of your shortcomings. You know, whatever. Don't lie about anything. Tell me the truth.
Tony Massey, what she's saying to you,
valuable.
Tony Massey, is that you being you has liberated her to be
I think so,
comfortable
yeah.
being herself.
And
That's what it is.
and that's beautiful, because I'll tell you, bro, being me ain't easy. It's not. Being authentically me is not easy, because I've experienced so much trauma, and I've become so good at pretending that when I met someone who, and I just told her this the other day, one of the things that I love about her is the first time we really got into a big fight, I mean, one of our big fights, she was able to recognize that this isn't about me. And she brought it to my attention. And I'm gonna tell you, I did not receive that in a positive way. She was like, this is trauma speaking. And so let's time out on our fight, and let's start talking about the trauma that is fueling this fight. But it was a transformative moment, because I have been doing that for so long in so many other past relationships, creating a battle that didn't represent the actual war. I'm picking fights with people because I want to deal with an issue that they have nothing to do with, but they are the easy target.
So Tony, before you finish, right? And I'm sorry for jumping in.
No, please.
I want you to go from the 131.00 mark till right now. Cut it out and repost that, because what young men need to understand, all of the trauma that they've gone through, all of the heartbreaks and all the other things. A lot of times when we're arguing, we're not arguing that particular thing at that particular moment. We are arguing something from the past that we saw in the particular person that we're in love with, and we're going, oh, you're about to do this, and I hated that for blah, 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 blah. And for her to recognize what that was, is something that young men should look for. So I'm gonna piggyback and go back up to what Rick said earlier, real quick. Rick was talking about earlier is we're at a stage, right, that there are things that we need and want, right? The preferences that we look for has gone far beyond the physical. Imagine if we can teach the kids coming out of high school to have this type of awareness of what they should be looking for. Relationships would switch completely, because I've told my sons, I don't want you, if you prefer to have one woman, then go do that. But if you want a multiple date, you have to tell each person that you're doing it.
Right.
Now, if you say to one girl, I really dig you, but because of all the other things I do, I'm doing this, that, and the other, and she decides to leave, son, you can't be mad at that, because she didn't want to be in that space.
It wasn't her preference.
Wasn't her preference to be in that space. You guys might meet when you're 25 and all that's sorted out. Now it's better. But if guys grow up to understand we don't need to play these games, because and I wish our buddy the professor was here, because that's how he invented his character. It goes back and forth. I heard you heard Rick and Tony. Now they go hurt somebody. I meet that somebody. They hurt me. It's just a vicious cycle of hurting, because we're never showing up as our representative. And what's really scary about the internet is you put up your preferences. I'm watching. I'm not saying anything for a long time. I done got a list of all your preferences. I know what you like and don't like. Now I show up as that actor. Now I meet the high quality. I meet the conversation. I read the books that you read. I know the places you want to go. I show up for 6 months as that individual.
But the truth will show.
Oh, it is.
The truth will show. But with people who do that are serial killers.
Yeah.
They're hunting. And you have to be aware of what that looks like. It's difficult. It's a
Right.
different, especially when you're at a place when you want to meet somebody that you like, that you care about.
You know,
It's difficult.
when I think about relationships, oftentimes the thing that actually beats us up the most about our past relationships is the I thought.
Mm.
I thought it would be something different than what actually occurred. Like I thought that the way I lived my life is so high and of such good quality and pureness and positivity that I shouldn't go through these negative situations, because I thought that if I'm in a relationship and endeavoring to do the right thing, that I shouldn't go through feeling poorly or being seen in as someone else's past issue. Like I thought that oftentimes when we look back at our relationships or feel the hurt in that moment, is that I thought set a standard that wasn't accurate to what actually took place, and it has now got you stuck. That I thought that it should have been something different. You know, I tell you, when I go into relationships, like I don't have any ill intentions with the women that I love. I fall for them for whatever reason. I fall for them, and I go in with the believing that this thing is just going to work out. But I also have to understand that if it's not meant for me, a no amount of work and effort and energy and pouring into that I do is going to change that truth from being the truth. It's not going to change it. So you spend time communicating, you spend time having these conversations, you spend time sharing the things that's on your mind. And then when those flags go off, you have to believe them. But have the conversation at least to find out if it's you being triggered by something you have been through, or two, is that really who you are? Because if it's really who you are, then I should be able to bow out of this because it's not right for me.
So just to make sure I'm hearing this correctly, you're talking about when you take somebody on for the preference, and then things kind of change. Is that what you mean?
Well,
like you meet somebody, they got all your preferences, and
well,
then all of a sudden you figure out, you go, well,
I'm a little weird.
I thought based on my preferences you were like this, and now your preference, you don't meet the preference standard.
No, it sounds like he's saying I had a vision of how things were supposed to work out.
Oh, okay.
And they're just not working out that way.
Right.
Okay.
That's
And
it. You know what I'm saying?
thought, I thought because I, am a good person, or I did everything right, or I deserve to have the best, and I just would never expect it to have anything less than that.
Right.
And I think that's a fair assumption that a lot of us have. I don't think anyone comes to the table and says, "Look, I'm a train wreck, and so I don't expect anything out of this." As a matter of fact, I don't expect anything out of any relationship. I think most people will say,
Tony Massey so much.
I'm just saying, I think most people come to the table and say, "Look, I'm special, and I have to be treated specially, and I have to be, I'm not for everyone." I don't. When people say that, I don't think they understand what they're actually saying. No, you're not, and it isn't because you're so special. It's because there are things about you that a lot of people just won't like, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
We have to stop trying to have universal appeal. We don't. Not every woman is going to like you. And that's what I have a problem with, the ladies' man mindset. You cannot have any woman you want. Now, you can definitely try to pursue any woman you want, but there's going to be something about you that is not going to be ideal, and that woman is going to say no, and that's okay. That's okay. As a matter of fact, thank you. Thank you so much for not, having me sit here and run in circles trying to be someone that I'm not.
No is a complete sentence. Say it, Tony Massey.
No, thank you so much. Because I was going to go hard in the paint for you. I really was. And I'm so glad that I don't have to. And so that's why, at the beginning, and we're getting to the point where we need to shut this down. But in the beginning, I said, I stopped getting upset about being rejected because of my height, because I don't want there to be, and while I'm in this state of bliss and love, and I'm just, I my girl, and all the while, every time she looks at me, there's that thing that's just nagging in the back, and like, oh, I wish he was taller.
No, you know what's worse than that? You know what's worse than that? Every time she sees a man that's her height,
oh yes,
has a certain smile on her face.
Yes,
because you'll never think you're
so right.
You never
think Tony Watts is vicious. Why are you vicious, bro?
If I'm forcing you to,
but it's real.
It is. If I'm forcing you to look past something that you've already said I can't look past this, then you're still shopping.
Right.
I'm just in the basket.
That's it.
Until you go, oh, they got Oreos. Let me put these back.
I can get 2 for $5.
What? I ain't know Nilla wafers was on sale. Let me put these damn things back. Get what I really want.
Yeah, it's that look. It's that look that you see on their face when they're looking at something that you. I know my
wife isn't shopping anymore, and I really believe she knows that I'm not either. You can't. And it isn't that I've become blind to beautiful women. It's that you got to have more than a cute smile and a big butt to. I mean, I found it, man. I got it, and it's perfect for me, with all her imperfections, with all her shortcomings, with all of the crap that I have to put up with. I would not trade it for anything, because she meets preferences that I didn't even know I had.
Well,
that's what we talked about in the beginning, man.
I'm glad you said that. So before we land this plane, I'm so glad you said that, because I was going to say it earlier. During the pandemic, and when y'all first got together, because I know the story, you guys went through certain things that changed your whole dynamic of all the things you had as preferences.
Yes.
So a woman who was solid in who she was were able to. That you don't need that. That preference is not what you need. This is what you need. She began to replace your preferences with what was real and what was needed. And that's what I'm talking about. When you go into a relationship just looking for preferences, you're gonna miss all of the jewels that are possible in a person, to be like, wow, you mean that person supports me through everything that I do?
Didn't even know it was on the menu.
Didn't even know it was on the menu.
That's right. We only know what we know.
Wow, I got this blind. I got this
thing there is to know.
I got this blind spot over here. I never knew that behind my left ear there was this little dot, and she helped.
Yeah.
That's that thing, right? Yeah. But if you would have just kept your blinders on and not let her show you what needed to be shown about you, you said it 1,000 times, bro. I am a better man because of.
Absolutely.
I have changed 100% because of. Who I was when I met her, I am different because of. And when you can begin to say those things, your preferences are out the window. Because your list, you have said it, she has said it, the list got torn up and thrown out the garbage.
Yeah. Because it was inadequate. It was inadequate. And it did not bring me closer to what I have now. And that is something real. Is it always perfect? No. Are we hashtag goals? Hell no. But for us, I don't think either one of us could have it any other way.
Right.
But it was because we held fast to our standards. I meet her standards, but I know that I don't meet all her preferences, and vice versa.
Right.
But when it comes to making each other happy, not making each other happy, facilitating happiness for one another.
Well said.
Nobody does it better.
Right.
Nobody does it better.
Right.
All right, y'all. We're almost at an hour 45 minutes. Time to go. I knew this was going to be a banger. This is a great topic, man. All right, what y'all got? Anything coming down the pike? Let us know. Let everybody know.
Nope.
I'm sorry, Rick. Go ahead.
Oh no! You go first, Watts.
All right. So Saturday, I'm working out, talking to a woman. She's 81 years old. She's been through a lot of different situations. The name of the show will be Matriarch. A lot of people from her neighborhood has respected her for who she is and what she's done. So I want to talk to her and ask some of these real questions that these people out here talking about. That some people, well, women in these years did da. So
I can't. Oh yeah,
I want to find out if all that's true. I want to find out if all that's true. You know what I mean? So we're gonna go have those discussions. I'll have her and Anissa on, and we'll talk about some things.
I'm gonna bring some tape. I'm gonna bring some tape to tape up all the holes she gonna poke in them theories.
I gotta save the date for anyone that is looking forward to doing a workshop in New Jersey. I have a save the date. This is July 24th at 2 p.m. Another From Self-Love to Self-Care workshop will be going down. The last one was a huge success. Oh, I'm telling you, hearts were healed, answers were given, solutions and ways of being has been, presented. And now people are running with it. And I tell you, it's just only been a week. And to hear these stories is magnificent. It's really, really magnificent. So save the date, put it in your calendars. If you're going to actually be willing to come to New Jersey for an in-person 3-hour workshop, From Self-Love to Self-Care, myself, Rose Emily, and Lisa, the owner of Spa O on the Go. So yeah, we look forward to it. See you soon. That's it. That's it for the month. For this month, I'm not doing the Gun to Man show because I'm moving. So I'm spending all this extra time looking for an apartment and all that. So just for the month of May, there's no Gun to Man show.
Make sure you head over to realshoptalk.net. All of our personal mail is there. We also love that you are watching us. Please watch us on YouTube. Let's get the algorithm. Let's hit that algorithm. Make sure you're sharing the show. If you enjoy the show, I guarantee you know at least 2 or 3 other people that's going to enjoy it. So next time you come, bring your 5, as our patriarch used to say. And we will be back next week. We appreciate every single one of you for showing up for us. So we're going to keep on showing up for you. So thank you guys, and have a blessed week. And we'll see you next week.